Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara, intuitive healer, teacher, guide, specializing in the shadow. And I want to talk about a very important factor of all of our experiences combined, and it has to do with time and timelines and how we can constantly be feeling like we're running up against the clock. Like time is running out, time is moving too fast, and also carrying the stress and the pressure dealing with time. So when we think about timelines, we come from a structure. We have been born into a structure. We are put into school, we are put into the workforce, and we abide by the clock. We also have a lot of stress and pressure that we wear on ourselves, that we carry, that emphasize the focus on timelines, getting things done. I'm not where I need to be. I'm not where I want to be, having those expectations and putting a lot of pressure on time. Time is the structure of our old way of being, but it's still, I want to say it's old, but it also is part of our lives today. It is something that requires a lot of mindfulness and a lot of awareness to break through in order to be in a life of more flow and alignment with creation, with our ability to flow with life, our ability to create, and our ability to enjoy life without the nagging pressure in the back of our mind telling us that we have to be somewhere at a certain time, that we have to get things done, and we have to meet certain goals. And if we don't have that done, and if we aren't meeting our certain expectations in life, then we carry the burdens of extra stress and pressure. And it really just sort of ruins our day. The key to moving through this is letting go. It is practicing the art of letting go and surrendering to life. And I've mentioned this many times before. And what it means to surrender to life is to not give up on working and not giving up on your dreams, but to let go of the pressure and the expectations and the heaviness that is placed on ourselves so that we can move into a state of creation and to manifest from a powerful place. When we are restrictive, when we have a lot of pressure, when we focus on what isn't working, when we have a lot of stress and worry and even lack in our life, then it energetically disrupts our ability to enjoy life more. It comes in the form of our emotional well-being. It comes in the form of our mental well-being, our mental thought processes, and it can affect our body. But it also can disrupt the flow of movement. When we place a lot of emphasis on time and expectations and wanting things done a certain way, or maybe focusing on what isn't working, focusing on timelines as in, I need to be somewhere in this point in my life. Maybe I'm not where I want to be in this point in my life. Putting an emphasis on what isn't working in this period in our life, getting maybe frustrated that it isn't working in the way that we hoped. All right. So we do place a lot of emphasis on this part of our process, this part of our being, especially if you're working on being a conscious creator, being the creator, deliberate creator of your reality. Then it can be difficult to unwind from the concept of time and to expand into a greater state of being for creation and for balance and joy. And I also have to mention that our personal view of success is going to be different for everyone because we all have different lives. We all have different gauges and mechanisms for success. When we have certain expectations on life, and a lot of it has to do around money, a lot of it has to do around success, maybe even comparing to others, which we can sometimes find ourselves doing, having a certain expectation by a certain age, or really having a lot of pressure to support others around us. Those are very common aspects of our being, right? And the more that we hold on to those aspects of being, the less we will enjoy and the less we will be able to create. And so when we take a step back and when we let go of the need for things to be done a certain way, a need for things to be done a certain timeline, and I catch myself doing this a lot. I constantly am working on myself with this as well. That's why I'm doing this video, because I've been very cautious around where I'm focusing my energy. We can easily have a lot of attention and emphasis on money, on lack, on struggle, on scarcity, on what isn't working in our lives, on wanting to be somewhere, as I mentioned, at a certain point in our life. The more emphasis that we place on that or those aspects in our lives, the greater barriers that we are creating in that flow of life and creation, and honestly, just enjoying our life for every moment and every aspect of our being. When we place a lot of a strong emphasis on certain aspects of our life, we become very micro-focused. We are really stuck in the minutia and the details of what isn't working, or the resistance in our lives, or the resistance within us. And so when we let go of that, that frees up space to enjoy life more. And when we are in that space, that place of enjoying life more, being in a state of gratitude, looking at what is working, finding joy and happiness with the simplest pleasures in life, then we slow our time down. When we are anxious, when we are living in problems, when we are living in struggle, if we have placed so much energy on ourselves, time moves faster. And to slow time down means to enjoy life more, and to allow for us to co-create with the universe, allow for synchronicities to show up, allow for us to truly find that peace and happiness and joy with our life. And when we're in that energy, when we are in that experience, then we get to create more. We get to attract more. When we are pushing hard, when we are pushing on ourselves, when we have the expectations, when we focus on what isn't working, then we are creating a big resistance to life, a big barrier, a big block towards the flow of life. All right. So everything has its rhythm, everything has its movement, everything has its vibration. And so it's really crucial to work with your energy. And we all have this ability to do this. We all have the ability to work with energy and to create a life according to that, according to our own frequency, according to our own feelings, according to our ability to flow and fly with one, and our ability to create. And timelines is has a very powerful emphasis, or very powerful relation to that. When we let go of time, then we move into a more expansive way of being. We move into a greater ability, again, as I mentioned, to create, to be, to exist. This isn't, of course, to forget about time in an essence of certain requirements that we have to meet in our life regarding timelines or meetings and things like that. And it is important to be aware of time in that regard. But taking the emphasis off of time energetically is going to change everything. And I've mentioned this before in other videos as well. There's a process to changing our life and changing our reality from the old to the new. And when we move from the old, if we move from a place of being very time focused, very focused on what isn't working, and focused on our deadlines, focusing on our life process, focusing on where we aren't in our life or where we want to be in our life, then we are stopping the flow of life in its tracks. We are also adhering to old principles and old paradigms of the structured and the locked in type of way of being. And so when we move into a more expansive way of being, into a way of creation, a way of flow, a way of abundance, a way of love, that frequency of the complete flow of energy without restrictions, there's going to be the middle, the void in between the two. And that void is sometimes very difficult to manage. And for myself, what I've been noticing lately is a shift in time. And I've been noticing that my time is slowing down. A lot happens within a day or within a week. It feels like almost a month sometimes because so much happens, but I'm also sensing and noticing more in life. And that is a big indicator that you are breaking away from the stress and the pressure and the focus on maybe what isn't working, or the expectations or the timelines, and moving into a more expansive way of being. But that also requires a lot of focus, because we can dip back into what is familiar for us, where we've been, as we move into a different way of being, into a more expansive way of being. So that void, that in-between space, is quite difficult sometimes to navigate, because again, we can fall into old patterns, but we want something better, we want something greater. So we have to really focus on letting everything go and finding flow and finding peace with life itself and within ourselves. And so that void, that middle place, is very crucial. And when you start navigating, and it may cause fear, it may cause resistance, because we like our old ways. We are very habitual creatures. We may revert to our old way of being. But if we're constantly pushing ourselves to more expansive way of being, then it is eventually going to change. But there may be part of us that may have fear around the future. We may have fear around the feeling of feeling nothing, because feeling something equates to holding on to what isn't working. Resistance, control, expectations, fears. When we let go of that, we're entering a whole different way of existing. And that way of existing also creates more intuition, greater intuition. It creates a greater ability to sense and to pick up on so much information in life. When we, again, are looking at our time, when we're time crunch, when we're looking at what isn't working, when we're carrying a lot of stress, when we're go, 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 we are not paying attention to life itself. And we're missing a lot of information that comes from life itself, that comes from our body, that comes from our mind, that comes from our emotions, that come from other people, that come from our creative abilities, that come from our intuition. And this is a whole learning curve that a lot of us are going through right now. So as you move to a more expansive way of being, then you are naturally going to oscillate between these two ways until you slowly start to get comfortable with the expansive aspect of yourself and the connectedness with all. And when you are connected with all, you sense more, time slows down, you feel more, your intuition increases, you have greater creative abilities, you make less mistakes, you're more present for people and more present for life. You have greater relationships, greater connectedness with others, and greater connectedness with yourself. So again, if you are experiencing a weirdness with times, if you're experiencing that time is shifting or it's seeming a bit wacky, that could be potentially what it is. There could be other factors happening energetically, but generally I feel, I've speaking from experience anyway, that this sensation of the old to the new brings up a lot within ourselves, seeing life differently, functioning differently. Time, as I mentioned, slows down, and you get to sense and you get to take life in and you get to connect more, and you have greater ideas and the synchronicities and all those good things. So I hope this is offering you some guidance on your journey and beyond. And I will be seeing you again very soon. Take care.